never give up. I never give up. I never give up.
Hi guys, welcome back to my Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan Neff. Today I've got Jason Pike with me. And when I read his book, I had to shake my head so many times and had to sort of think, oh my God. And oh my God, because this man had so many trials and tribulations. You could say failures, you could say negative words, but I rather see it as opportunities to grow. Sometimes he had to make some mistakes a few times to actually really make sure that is a mistake, but it is what it is. A man who is repeatedly getting up off the ground, dusting himself off, wiping the egg off his face. And his book, A Soldier Against All Odds, is all about that. It was a magnificent read for me, and I knew I had to get this guy onto my show. So Jason, welcome to my show.
Stephan, I'm honored to be here. I'm very excited. Yeah, this is crazy. It's just a wild and crazy ride I had. And so we can talk about any angle that you want to talk into. So.
Well, let's start at the beginning. You know, some kids are born with silver spoons in their mouth and all the makings of a grand manner. How was your childhood?
My childhood was pretty ordinary. I was not poor. I always had food, but my dad taught us you have to survive. You might become poor one day, and whatever it takes, never give up. Even if you have to steal, he says you got to keep on going, whatever it takes to win. And so, but no, I grew up in Georgia and South Carolina, and it was a ordinary childhood, kind of in the countryside, but I think my childhood pain and failure were just something that were introduced to me very early on in life. And regard to the failures, I have I've got a learning disability verified 3 times by 3 different people, but I failed the first grade. English and writing and reading are my worst subjects, no doubt, even though I am a national bestseller with my book out. Don't worry. That's kind of crazy, but no, it really was. And so school instruction was tough for me. I also physical pain, as far as I had osteomyelitis. The left knee of my bone dissolved and went away and grew back. I'm not a doctor, but it came back, and I responded to the antibiotics and things. And but no, pain and failure were just part of my life and my journey. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did your dad teach you? What did he say in response to that? Was he?
Dad, yeah, my dad was dirt poor. We're talking about stealing food, tying rags around your feet for shoes type of poor. I mean, it was in the South, they call the term white trash. It's a different level of poor. And he said he thought we may have to become poor again. And that was a skeleton. We never did, but he taught us that whatever you do in life, you never quit. And he went and taught us how to steal watermelons. And so it was whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Even as kids, and he was a little bit of a mischievous character himself, as you probably see in the book I was. He said it's okay to have fun and things, and maybe kind of screw up and do pranks and things like that. And he taught me how to shoot bottle rockets at cars when I was 9 years old as well. And he says but he says, whatever happens, you just, even if you get in trouble, you never quit, you never give up on anything. And no, he had a great influence on me and the children because of he just had this never quit attitude, and says, you look at me, I was a poor kid, and look at me now. And so he always told us stories. He was a storyteller. Now I'm a storyteller too, but he told a lot of stories. Yeah.
And I think that is so important. These are the earliest influences that are really laid down. This is how the core beliefs that are laid down. And so therefore, I'm in awe of this man. And for those people out there, white trash, I mean, when you read the book, you understand that the poverty we are talking about is literally actually shitting in the woods and using leaves to wipe your bottom. Okay, so
yeah, oh yeah,
exactly,
exactly, yeah.
And don't you dare use the wrong leaves. Okay, you quickly know that.
Leaves of 3, let them be.
Nice. Okay, I need to remember that. No, but the reality is he gave you that skill of survival. Whatever it takes, you just do it. Now that is a really good survival skill. No two ways around that. Survival attitude. Having said that, later down the line, it's certainly those kind of traits in your system were not really much appreciated. Well,
Yes.
how did you end up in the military? It is.
Well, I sort of slimed my way into the military because we talked about, a good question is, we talked about my learning problems and we talked about my physical frailty. A logical question is, how did you enter a professional organization with those issues? Because yeah, you have to go through an entrance exam, and well, I started, everything was at the bottom. It was the military at 17 but it was the National Guard. This was a less than best organization. It was sort of a weekend warrior. It wasn't National Guard. They used to call us nasty girls as a term, but no, that we were a less than best type of. I don't know how I got in on the entrance exam. I really don't, because my entrance scores to college were very, very low, and they sort of kind of go on I don't know how I did that. Now, for the physical problem, I lied to him. I says, I'm fine. There's no problems with me. This was way before the internet. And so I got in that way. So I was going into a less than best organization where you could slime your way in a little bit. And once I got in, you see, I went into the military because I didn't, it's either going to the military or you go to college. Definitely knew that I couldn't go to college. So I said, well, I'll just join the military. And that was what I was thinking at that time.
And that's, again, logical thing, survival. It is, though, intriguing. I mean, there were so many rebellious things in you. I mean, one story in your book is that two boys, one of them you, are more and less interested into the same girl. You had your own way of dealing with that. Tell us a bit about that one.
So yeah, that's jealousy. I was feeling jealous. I had my first, when I came out of, I had my first girlfriend, and she decided to start dating another guy. I felt jealous, and with the guy, I got my dad's shotgun, 20 gauge shotgun, and got a handful of shells. I followed him on his way home, and when he entered the house, I wanted to put some scare into him. I sort of waited 10 minutes out in his yard, and then maybe 10, and then once he left, I just unloaded a shotgun and blew out the back end of his car, just to give him a warning, I guess. And so, that story. And so it was crazy. When I look back at that thing, I said, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And but there was another event where I jumped him and I beat him up, a fist fight. But other than that, really, that was feeling jealous, of being stupid, like a stupid kid, I look back at it now, I'm thinking, wow, why in the world would I do stuff like that?
At that moment, however, that felt right for you. And that was the survivalist in you. That was the down out, simple, okay, I've got a problem here. I've got a solution. No filter. Let's just do it. And that's interesting. And I know from your book that basically everyone knew you had done it, but no one ever said a word, and certainly no one ever gave you grief about it. Now that speaks about your society more than about anything else.
Yeah, I mean, the mother of the girl and the girl, they saw it physically. I went and talked to them. Well, we're still on good terms. We're cool. But they went and saw the car later, but didn't say anything to the boy. So the boy didn't know what happened, and but the mama. And so later we got back together, and her mother went to knock on the door, and we were back together again. Her mother says, "Hey, Jason, did you hear what happened to Robert's car?" I said, "No, I don't know anything about it." It says, "Somebody blew it up." I says, "Oh, I don't know anything about that." This is what I think. And she knew it, but she was still happy for me to date her daughter. So
Oh, amazing, amazing. But I mean, now we have got already a glimpse into your practical ways of solving problems. Maybe not the
Oh.
most acceptable, but then again, it worked for you at that time. And this is clearly the United States, where guns are everywhere, firearms are everywhere, and where maybe such attitudes then were accepted. Nowadays, bloody hell, you've got the boys in black rappelling down helicopters and kicking your ass big time. Uh, it is what it is. Oh, it was what it was with you. So you learning disability very early on put a bit of a challenge into your life. And what a knee injury or a knee, well, it was a knee injury that then turned into osteomyelitis. So basically an eating up of the bone. That's not for the faint-hearted. So how did you deal with pain? Literally physical pain.
So it was in the 70s, and they would do these injections into my left knee, and the injections were just so painful. They were antibiotics, and they would go in there, and it was just, and my leg was a bunch of pus. And so pain right there was just so, I remember the doctor thinking, "Man, you're strong. You trying to build me up." Maybe he says, "You're not even crying and things," but it was just pain. And so I guess, that painful event that helped me become resilient, because a kid just learns that that's the way sometimes life is. So I became very resilient on pain. And as a matter of fact, I'll accidentally cut myself or hurt myself, and I don't know it at the time. And I look back and I said, "How in the world did I cut myself or bruise myself?" I don't know, but yeah, those things even happen today. I don't know if it's because of so many things in the past or not, but
Yeah,
yeah.
intriguing. So, okay, against all odds, you ended up in the National Guard. And how did that journey go? Were there people who mentored you? Were there people? How was the attitude there? Was it the classic drill sergeant and ripping you apart, building you up, or was it actually a different weekend warrior kind of community?
So the basic training was active duty basic training Army for 3 months at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. That was hell. Now that's where you get certified as to be a soldier, a bona fide soldier. I'm going to tell you about that experience where I almost got kicked out. But the National Guard is a weekend warrior event. It's 1 weekend a month, mostly just drinking beer, hanging out, bullshitting. Not a whole lot of nothing going on other than 2 weeks in the year. But then the active duty basic training in 1983, they wanted to kick me out because I was not able to drink the water that was coming out of the damn fire hose. It was coming out too fast. I wasn't really getting all the instructions, and my inspections were really messed up. My helmet might be to the side. Maybe I didn't shave, or just little odds and ends. And this story really does not happen. I can't recreate that. I've asked, but what they did was they said they send the sorriest 2 privates, me and another guy, over to a criminal correctional facility, which is a military brig. And they were wanting to do it to get us scared straight or go through a program. At the time, I thought I was getting kicked out of the military because I just didn't adapt that well. But he says, "You're going to CCF. That's where criminals are at." We were not criminals, but the criminals get processed out of this facility and get out of the Army, and they have to do very bad things. But they had a program just to try to scare us straight. So we made big rocks into small rocks. We climbed around on the hot rocks. We just did a ton. It was a different level of hell where we came out of there. It was only about 4-hour exercise, but it was total hell on wheels. We come out basically with all of our uniforms all bloodied up, our hands bloodied up, our arms and knees, and there's holes in our uniforms. Our uniforms are ruined. we were guinea pigs for the platoon to say, here's the sorriest two people, and if you don't get your act together, you're going to look like them. This thing does not happen. It was probably just some sort of a drug deal with the drill sergeants at that time. That sort of made me pretty wired tight, and I sort of he didn't break me. He sort of made me, and he started working. I just did the best I could, and eventually I did graduate basic training. It was the movie Full Metal Jacket, basically. If you've seen that movie, that is the entire setup of it: the screaming, the yelling. It was more like a Marine type of a basic training, even though it was Army. We come out of there and we talk about it. I know all these old soldiers talk about, well, when I did this, but this truly was, I mean, without a doubt, one of the most difficult. They strip you down. They strip you down naked as far as you're a civilian. They strip you everything you got, and then they build you back up. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Well, I can imagine that the survivor in you didn't really like that too much. The survivor was ready to kick ass, but how did you deal with that conflict? I mean, you must have wanted to rebel like big time.
I was too scared to rebel, and there's no way out. As long as I could see that there was no way out of this situation, even. Okay. I mean, I wasn't going to quit, and I couldn't. I did get in a fight in the barracks. There was some, sleep and food are very, very precious things. Yeah. And during this time, someone was goofing off and woke me up, acting like he was the drill sergeant. And I just went and when I saw that he wasn't the drill sergeant, I just beat him up. People had to take me off of him. So I kicked his ass because, food and sleep was very precious. And when you're and what we were doing, we didn't miss home. We didn't miss much of anything. There was no time to miss anything. We were too busy all the time. And it was just like, wow, even on Sundays, I mean, there was no day off that I remember. We just kept work. We woke up at 4 a.m. And then before we did physical fitness, we were out there doing chores in the yard and things with our flashlights because it was dark. And then by the time we get done with our training and eating, it's probably 9 or 10 o'clock at night. We're exhausted. You prepare a little, and then you go to sleep around 11 o'clock or so, maybe 10:30 if you're lucky. But then you're back up. We're young. Most of us are teenagers, and we're not getting our sleep really well as well. So yeah.
Oh boy. Well, again, there is nothing romantic about that. But you got through it, and then what happened thereafter?
So I come back to high school. I complete high school because I'm a soldier in high school because I had failed the first grade. And so I come back with a shaved head, and everybody looking at me in the 12th grade. Wow, look at you. This was the 80s, was the big hair, all the big hair things. And so I come back to South Carolina, and I go to school and I graduate school, but I had a different attitude. I had changed. There was something that snapped in me that changed me, and everybody saw it. I became more focused in a way, became more steely-eyed. I became more, I am going to go to college. The experts say I can't go to college, but I am going to college because I think I can do something, and I just don't know what it is. So I did. I went to a junior college, not a reputable college, for the idea of transferring into a reputable college. But no, that's where it goes on from there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, to get into college with a learning disability, okay, hang on. Even if it is a pretend college, they still try to weed out people like you. So come on.
Yeah. Now, going into a junior college, this college didn't care about your entrance exams. They didn't care about your test scores, because I know that's the only reason. So they would take anybody who was lame, lazy, or crazy. They would just anybody. If you've got I had a Montgomery GI Bill scholarship, and I said, and somebody says you can go here. This is basically another high school at an advanced level. And I took it slower. I didn't study engineering. I studied education. And I went slower than other folks. And it was a more easier type of a college, I guess you could think. And then I just took it slow, and I started passing. I watched I found something on the television called, there's a tape on how to study. I didn't even know how to study. And it was called Where There's a Will, There's an A, and like the letter A. And I said, this is how I'm going to study. I use tape recorders. I had jobs where I could study on the job, like a security job. And so I started I have an entire chapter of how a learning disabled person, at that time, I didn't. Now they have special conditions and things for folks who have learning disabilities. At that time, I don't know if they did, but I didn't know about it, and I didn't use it. I just went through the normal procedures of like everybody else. And so I developed strategies, I guess, on how to study and how to, and how to pass tests and so forth. Yeah.
And I think that is then what shines throughout the whole book. You would take you figured out what worked for you, and then you would apply it to every little situation that was in future to come. And that was so intriguing to me. And it was not easy for you, because it actually meant incredible amount of work. The tenacity that you developed and that you showed subsequently, I think that was what was shining through the book, because there you were in many situations that you describe where really you had to learn so much harder, put in so many more hours, often deep into the night, often in crazy ways, but you persevered with your own way. And I think that was such a powerful thing. So that is what I want so many people to see, to read, to listen to, that yes, life might have not given you all the skills and all the perfect setup. No, but who cares? Figure out what works and then apply it to the situations. Give us some techniques that worked for you.
Okay, so when I was reading, sometimes I would change my locations. If I was studying, I wouldn't study on the same place. I would go to different locations, physical locations, to study. It could be in the car. It could be in a restaurant. Even if you're sipping on some tea, or you're drinking some coffee, or putting something in your mouth, you're using taste, and you're reading and studying. You got the eyes and you got the taste that's going into your brain. And if you touch the paper while you're looking at it, then you've got a physical touch. And so I learned that the animal, the taste, the five, the senses, they help also to pick up instructions. And you don't want to study that long. Study 10 to 15 minutes, walk away, and then go somewhere, and then come back like 5 minutes later, and you're going to have a different thought. And so I would do that, and I would use my senses, and also your hearing. You can talk out loud, or you can use a recorder, and then do it all. Matter of fact, eat, touch, read, sounds, everything. And that's kind of how I picked up a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Cool. And that is so amazing, so important, because most of us have not figured out how to learn. Some of us are maybe a bit more natural in it, but how to learn is something that many people don't really actively approach. So there you are. You were forced to do it, and now it has become your superpower. It gave you truly the power. Were you proud of yourself?
Because yes, I was very proud. Yeah. Matter of fact, I was more scared of walking into a college than jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. It really was, because this was a place that I was not supposed to go. Well, exactly. This was a place that I am not supposed to succeed, according to the stores, even my high school. And so I just went ahead and did it. And once I graduated, I was like, wow, I can do. Now I just proved. I got out of basic training. I survived basic training. I got out of college. I can do damn near anything I want to do.
Uh,
But of course, we're not above the law. We
yeah.
can't just be, there was a time where I just felt, oh, I can do anything and I can get out of anything. It's good to have self-confidence, but not so much like that.
How did you deal with the bullying? Because there is no way that you didn't get into the crosshairs of some bullies because of your perceived slowness.
So I stayed away from cliques and people in high school and things of that nature. I had my few friends, but I was very quiet. I knew not to say anything much. And I developed in high school, I developed a little niche. I was in the Future Farmers of America. I was in agriculture. I found a little clique in that group. There are a bunch of farmers and people who do agriculture thing. That was a vocation. I kind of thought I would be in agriculture when I got out, but no, I stayed away from the people who were the elite, the people who were the football players and all the great. I stayed quiet and I walked the other way. I was with a little small group of people in the Future Farmers of America, but no, I didn't have that much building because I kind of just walked the other way. You know, we all get slapped around once or twice, but I don't think it was because of my learning disability. They just had a few bullies there, but.
Right.
No, I think, yeah. So that's how that works.
Oh, that's actually really, really nice, isn't it? I mean, often enough, life is quite cruel there. And it is the children who were not endowed with survival skills or survival attitude that become traumatized by that. So here you are. So at least that was not compounding the challenges.
No, it was not. And I was in the average scores, and so I didn't really. I passed, but just South Carolina is the 49th state in education out of the 50 states. So we're at the bottom. We're right above Mississippi. So I didn't really understand how bad our school system was until I had a daughter and saw her in other states. I said, wow, I didn't learn this I don't know anything about this. I don't even think I wrote a paper on anything in high school. I really don't. And so it is a pretty bad educational state.
It is what it is, though. I mean, yeah. It is you are given the circumstances, you're given the surroundings. It is in those surroundings that is your life there and then. You need to succeed. And so, wherever you are in this world, there will be unique circumstances, and you either succeed or not. And it's as simple as that. And you actually succeeded, and that is the amazing thing. You became a man who is defining himself by his tenacity, by his resilience. And that was quite mind-blowing to me. Tell us a bit how it went on, because so you didn't become the future farmer. Somehow that didn't materialize.
No, I did study agriculture in college, but I had a foot in agriculture or farming. I had a foot in the military.
Yeah.
So eventually I chose the military because there just seems to be more. There was a series of events that occurred after I graduated from college where I got fired from 2 jobs. I had an ROTC scholarship, a reserve scholarship. And so when I got out, my first job was in the U.S. Department of Agriculture as a soil conservationist. I was not a farmer, but I was working with the government to advise farmers. And the job didn't last for long. But I was a reserve soldier still. I was a commissioned officer. Well, the story goes, I went off, goofing off in my government truck in a county that wasn't assigned to me. At that time, I speeded all the time, and I ran stop signs and red lights and all. That was just normal procedures for me at that time. Well, I ran a 1 stop sign too often on government duty in a government truck, and I totaled the truck. I was broadsided on my driver's side. I was not wearing a seatbelt, and that's probably what saved me, because I went flying away from the crash onto the other side of the passenger side, And the truck was totaled, and I walked away without a scratch. My supervisor was shocked. He was happy that I was alive, and I was too. And he just took note of it. And eventually I was fired from a government job, that job. And then I went off to another job, more closer to home, didn't get along with the supervisor, and I was fired from that job. Now, I had a college degree, and I was considered a reserve officer in the National Guard. And so I've been fired from 2 civilian jobs. And I went on unemployment. I had to go on unemployment to get money. And so eventually, I had an obligation that I conveniently forgot about. There was an obligation to the military because I had a scholarship, and I was hoping they didn't want me to put me on active duty. That's what I was thinking of. Maybe they forgot about it, but they called me up, ironically, while I was on unemployment status, and says, you need to come and fulfill your obligation to the service. Do you want to come? This was a full-time gig. Yeah. And I says, hey, yeah, this is a great time to go. Now, I didn't tell them I got fired from 2 different jobs. I says, yeah, let's go. and so I went on active duty after a series of events that just didn't work out in civilian life. And that was just ironic, good luck, or what have you. Yeah.
But one little thing that we didn't explore here, I can understand that maybe as a person with a learning disability, you struggle, you actually end up basically as a private in the military. I understand that. You actually became an officer. No, hang on. That is, how the hell did you sneak in there?
So I was a private. I made it up 1, 2, 3, 4, E1, E2, E3, E4 to specialist. I got an ROTC scholarship. Since I did so well at the junior college, they gave me a scholarship to Clemson University in South Carolina, an ROTC scholarship. I was in ROTC, junior ROTC, which anybody can get into that. But then I went into senior ROTC when I get into my junior and senior year of college. And I got commissioned as a lieutenant. And I went into the National Guard as a lieutenant from a private. Yes. So the ROTC program was easy for me because I talked about all the basic enlisted training that I had. And so to me, it was easy. Now, I was still focused and fearful of just the academics and getting the college degree, and that was my focus. The soldiering stuff of becoming an officer was very, very easy for me just because I had a background in it. And but I did graduate the second to the last in my class, ROTC class, because I was never around. I thought it was a waste of time. But I was always around to pick up that monthly paycheck. But no, I was never around for any classes or any labs. So the person who graduated last, he didn't even speak English. I think he was from Puerto Rico. But I was like, wow, at least I'm not last. So no, I think anybody could, as long as you do what you're told and so forth, you could get your officership. I think it's the commission. So I would strategize. In other words, how do I get out of all these classes that I think are stupid? So I would strategize. That's considered an elective, and the core academics, I would conveniently put those in front of those labs or conflict them. I would conveniently conflict them, and therefore I got out of them. So I was looking at academics. I said, I can become a second lieutenant, no problem. It's just getting that college degree is what I need to do. So yeah, it was prioritization with a little strategy.
Yeah. But that is again, you, there was another trait that I found intriguing in your book. You knew what you wanted. You knew it was a very goal-oriented kind of life you led. You knew, okay, I had to, in order to become that person, I had to pass these hurdles. And that is what I need to do, the absolute minimum, to achieve that. So you focused on doing the basics very well, or well enough, okay, so to actually get through that, and you succeeded. Once you had your ticket, once you had that title, once you had those stripes, who cares? And I think that is the other thing that sometimes people forget. We try to be perfectionists. We try to be out there going for the 120%, the best of the best, the best. And then if we're only the best, we start whipping each other. Oh, God, I failed. And it's just, you didn't have that. So
no, not at all. No, not at all. You're exactly right. I didn't think of it that way, but I would say, what do I have to do to get here? And then I would strategize and I'd say, what are the hurdles that I have to get through? Yeah. And even if I wasn't coming in, I kind of looked at, we're all going to be a lieutenant. And yeah, so I know how to become a lieutenant. I know, so I kind of knew what to do. And that's how it worked. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But now that you're an officer, lieutenant, you're actually, looking at leadership. You're actually looking at managing other people.
Yes.
Was that a strength of yours, or was that actually something that was again a challenge?
No, it was sort of second nature to me. My father was my first leader that I've had, and so I thought, wow, all you have to do is be humble and take care of people. And that was just like second nature. I just take care of them. That's like, and a lot of times I would say, I don't know everything. I don't know this. I'm just trying to help. I mean, so just be honest with them and just tell them, and you follow the orders come down to you give them to the sergeant, and then you take care of any problems that come up. And it was just easy for me to be a leader of troops. So don't tell me how to change the spark plug or I'll blow up the car. But I can definitely take care of the people who take care of the spark plug. So that was sort of second nature and sort of easy for me. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. But then again, hang on. There are so many traits in you that inevitably are working against each other. So we have got all the rebel in your youth. You don't just switch that off. Come on.
No, I had a rebellious streak in me. I had a challenging. In other words, I kind of pushed the envelope a little bit of a rogueness about me. One example was when I was a lieutenant, and there was a really, really pretty blonde-headed girl who was a private, and like, whoa, and this was at a time where there was not a whole lot of women in the military. And there was definitely a whole lot of good-looking women in the military. So I said, wow, well, we're both single, and she's outside my chain of command. But I went ahead and dated her, and word got around. And so I was brought into the battalion commander's office, and he says, you are not supposed to be doing this because it's a problem. It's a problem. You got to cease. He wrote me an order. I was a lieutenant. He was a battalion commander. He wrote a letter that I will cease and desist with the relationship. I was like, what in the world? It's like, how you? It's like, but I was like, oh man. I was like, but I told him, I says, in the regulations, and he didn't like to hear this. I said, sir, in the regulations, it says within the chain of command. Yeah. Because I don't give a damn about the regulations. I'm the damn commander. You do what the hell I say. Oh, geez. And so I couldn't stay away from the blonde-headed babe. So I learned how to hide it, and I tore up his letter, threw it away, and basically continued to see her. My evaluation was totally hosed for that year. In a way, I wasn't fired. My evaluation was just eliminated. In that same year, that's when I lost those two other jobs. So that year was not doing too well. I lost two jobs, and I'd been hosed by my battalion commander on the evaluation. And I was just really lucky that called me up, says, you need to come on to active duty because of your obligation as a scholarship. And so a lot of people ask me, well, if you stayed in the National Guard and you didn't go active duty, what would happen to you? I said, I don't know what would happen to me, but I do know that I didn't have a great reputation there. I know that. So I might have made it to captain. I don't know.
Okay. Were there people, there were lots of people who thought you're a pain in the ass. There were a lot of people in the superiors who were not so impressed with you. Were there people who saw your potential? Were there people who took you under your wings?
Yeah, there was a civilian leader that was in Maryland when I was a captain. he sort of like helped me out. In other words, he would, you know, he supported me. I did really, really well if I was a commander. I did really, really well if people just didn't micromanage me and I wasn't in a structure. I know that's hard, but there are some jobs where you're allowed for your own creativity. There was a few leaders out there that believed in me. There's civilian, and a lot of the civilian, not uniform, but the civilian. It's a large bureaucracy, and there's civilian government leaders that take care of me, or just allowed me to be myself, which is the big thing. Allowing me to be myself. I know that's hard in a structured organization, but when I did that, I shined. I just did really well. Other places where I was micromanaged, I couldn't really do well. I can't. I was outside of a box type of a thinker, which is not always good in the military.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Normally that is sort of an oxymoron, isn't it? It is.
Right.
I mean, it's special forces. Yes, that is something that is being supported there. It is out of the box and individual thinking. In the more standardized military, the green military, or however you want to call it. Nah, not really, is it?
No, not really. No.
But then again, it is you made it work. You made it work. You made it happen. And again, tenacity and not giving up, again, shown through those stories. You stayed in the military for a very long time. So
31 years.
Indeed. So you would have expected that sooner or later you clash with someone. Someone tries to really. There are nasty people out there who do think a lot about who think a lot of themselves, and a person like you who is thinking outside of the box, it becomes a red rag to a bull for these people. There would have been people out there who wanted to destroy you.
Yes. I was. There was a huge story where I was thrown under the bus or had a federal investigation. A lot of things happened when I was a senior person. Actually, I'd been in for a while. I was a lieutenant colonel, and I had a whole series of accomplishments to that point. So before I go to that chapter, so when I write this book, you're going to see a brutal type of honesty with my sins of my life and my failures, because when I go to that deep, dark time in my life, which is called Third Time's a Charm. I had been to South Korea three different times. I call it that South Korea is a station that we go to. A lot of military people there defend the region. I went there as a senior guy the third time. Actually, I'd been in Korea. And so I kind of knew the area really well after so many years being over there in the past. But what my failure is to understand power politics. I didn't understand that. I mean, I know life is political, but I didn't know that everybody has a little bit of turf, a little bit of a ground that they have, a little bit of space that you don't walk on. I said some things professionally about my job. My strengths were not to do research and publications and things of that. I was in the medical service corps at that time, and that's not my strengths. And I'm, barely a college person, but I'm better doing other things at the executive level than doing a lot of the nut work that we talked about. That kind of just I can't do it. So I want to go to my strengths, and I had conversations about that with some people that were powerful, and supervisors and other people that were not my supervisors, and they never said anything ever about a learning disability. I mean, I never had ever. So, but they didn't like that, and I found myself under more than two, in just a period of 2 years, under some serious allegations and some serious investigations. So the first allegation was they put rumors out. So what before I go into that, when you're a senior person in the military or the government, it's hard to get rid of you. You're pretty much going to stay on board. Right? You've got to have some wild accusations and things they call it passing the trash, or to get them out of there, or to even maybe possibly just try to fire them. That would be very, very, you'd have to kill someone almost to be fired from the military. So the first allegation was that I was a pedophile. I was on post as a pedophile. My daughter goes to school at the elementary school. I would go to the elementary school, eat lunch with her. I was a very playful, outgoing father, enjoyed fatherhood very, very much. But they started to stir up some rumors on the base that I was a pedophile, and that was bad. Well, that nothing ever happened. That went away. I did get looks and angry looks and things of that nature with the rumor mill. Once that nothing happened there, then I went under more serious allegations, actual federal investigation, that I was a spy. So I went from a pedophile to a spy within a year and a half. So with the spying activity, the allegations were that I was. So what happens with this one, the federal investigation, is they have hotlines out where it could be you have a suspicion that someone's a criminal or a sexual deviancy or maybe a suicide watch or something. That they got these hotlines. They sent some allegations in there that, not being a pedophile, but I was actually a spy. I was passing on information to other authorities outside the gates and things of that nature. So I was brought in. So this was more formal instead of just rumor. Went up to the Dragon Hill Lodge in Yongsan Army Garrison, and I faced the wind. I had Criminal Investigation Division, military intelligence, two sets of these folks. One was in my commander's office, and he's, of course, he's a full colonel. One was in my, well, not my office, but another office. We were being briefed by both CID and MI on the allegations that I was facing, now passing on information and things of that nature. I was like, oh, I says, well, I thought it was because I thought it was going to be about pedophile stuff, but no, it was about being a spy. So I said, all right, I said, have you done anything? Have you done anything like passing on information to other people outside the gates, things of that nature? I says, no, I have not. I have not done that. This is a bunch of bullshit. He says, well, it's your right. If you want a defense attorney, you can do, but we're looking at this. We're looking at you. And I said, yes, I want to be a defense attorney. And so I went and got a defense attorney and talked to him. And he says, well, what's going on? He wanted to know what I was doing. I says, I'm not doing a damn thing. He says, if you're not doing anything, they ain't got nothing on you. But their job is to follow through with an investigation. So you're going to be watched. You're going to be looked around. You're going to be watched. You might be monitored, activity, everything. And they did. And so I was monitored with false information that I was leaking information off to other foreign nationals, wherever they are at, outside the gate. And so boom cameras, weird telephone calls, computer crashes, just weird stuff that went on over there. Nothing ever happened. And that's really what, no one ever come to me after that. It was over about a year and a half to 2 years. No one come and said, hey, we're sorry, this was a bunch of bullshit. It just goes away. It's considered secret. It's considered very sensitive secret, but but word does get out and people hire in your organization hear about it. And so I can only imagine what my people who, they place you, the hire people, the consultants, and I can only imagine, oh, he was a pedophile. Oh, now he's a spy. Oh, wow. And so I'm wondering what they didn't know what really to do with me. So sure. My name was mud just by the rumor mill that was going around. So that was a deep, dark time. Yeah.
And it is hard because in your book you described the interpersonal friction between a particular more or less colleague, you have to say, who felt very much, well, tread upon his toes, who was, you were an entomologist at that time. You were sort of a bug person, if for the lack of a better word, in the nicest way. But you certainly were not interested in some beautiful butterflies somewhere and writing a bit of a report about that or a study about that. You were far more practical, and to a man to your colleague who was clearly an academic and who was living and breathing studies and writing, you were okay. Yeah, exactly.
So exactly. If they knew, and he was totally correct when he said your writing is worthless. He didn't like the emails that I sent out. Probably just didn't like, this is a second class type of a scientist. And, and also that's his baby. He had been there for years. He's developed this sort of apocalypse type of version of his self there as the main, and he was, I'll give him credit that he was very smart in his area of research of diseases, very well published, got the doctor's degree, he's got all the background, he's world renowned, and now, so I'll give him that credit. But everybody's got their little space, and if you don't walk the walk, and I didn't walk the walk, then you're out of the club. He took that as a personal, he took it as a personal, it wasn't, we just have different strengths and we have different weaknesses and things. And so, but if you're not with him, that means he felt that you're against him. And I wasn't against that guy. I just have a different walk. I felt that I could do different things, maybe not in that area with him. And, also I just personally just didn't get along with him. He was a workaholic, and I had a family, and he lived for work, and I lived really just to do the time and, play and do whatever, so, yeah.
Exactly. And I think that shows. So it was actually very intriguing to read. Now, 2 years of such pressure can break a man. How did you not break?
Ooh, that was tough. I had to hold on to family really well. Talked to my wife, told her that, I thought I was getting kicked out. I thought eventually something was gonna happen, because they even threatened me that there would be a board of inquiry on all my activities, and I thought that I may, but so I did go to seek a mental health counselor at that time, which was not popular. And I I talked to the chaplain and try to get some other insights. But when you're in a survival state, your mind is racing, and you don't really understand what's going on. You can't think logically because you're in such a state of anxiety that you're in paranoia, and you can't really get your hands around things. You don't know who to trust. I was eventually put into a different job, which was kind of a blessing there, on the same base, but get away from that office. But no, I was in fear a great deal of time. I was in a little paranoia, and it did a number on me. There's no doubt that's probably where my post-traumatic stress started, right there.
Oh, exactly. I mean, this is a trauma. This is basically, you've worked so hard. You worked harder than probably many others because of your learning disabilities, because of your need for strategizing, your need for thinking outside of the box, putting the extra hour in. So to have all that ripped away from you due to some interpersonal friction, due to some professional jealousy, I mean, that's brutal. That's brutal. And
brutal.
Yeah.
I call it, you could have called that chapter called The Enemy Within. In other words, we are our worst enemy, or the people, the Taliban. I mean, no, it was the folks. It was, and I was more, I was fearful about, like I said, I avoided cliques and things of that nature when I was growing up, and I could tell when I went in there. You look back sometimes wondering how you could avoid it, but when I walked into that third one, I could feel before I did anything wrong. I walked in and I could tell, just like an animal does. They can tell something's wrong. I could tell people how they hold their mouth, how they walk, how they talk, the awkwardness. I could just tell that something was going to probably happen. It's just I couldn't put my fingers on it. That's what that says. I know. Oh my God! I saw the power play, and I saw the influence that the person that I eventually had to talk to. So you could just tell something. I guess it was it's like ESP. It's like I know something's going to happen, but I just don't know what it is, and it's going to be with me somehow. So so that's just what I thought. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
What happened thereafter? How did you get out of that? How did you rebuild yourself? How did you? I mean, there would have been now so much self-doubt, so much watching your back. The PTS that you describe is beautiful. You would have watched your back. You would have every single thing that goes bit funny, you think, oh, there is another thing. So you see what you want to see, but that is a very, very unhealthy and a very self-destroying situation.
Well, it was tough. I mean, I developed eyes in the back of my head.
Exactly.
Yes, I felt the feelings were of guilt. The worst. I understand the fear of anger, and I understand the fear of having paranoia. But then I felt guilty. I felt that I'd done something wrong, and I'm thinking, how in the world can that be? And this is really also, I'm feeling betrayed by my own organization. The only granted, I had problems, but here's an organization where apparently I'm succeeding at. Now they're going to throw me out. It's like throwing you out of a family. And so I felt betrayed by my own people. Sure. And so those feelings were there. And what happened? I eventually just moved. I did my tour there, and then I moved to another assignment back in the United States. At that time, my dad, I had a second punch right after that, which was my dad was dying. And so he was in the hospital dying, and at the same time that he was dying, they said, let's just send you to Afghanistan. And I was going to command troops over there. So my dad died, and I'm in the process of getting some troops over to Afghanistan and basically go to a war zone. My father's death also hit me hard, very, very hard, the grief. I had sucked up that in federal investigation, just sucked it up through I don't know, it was just tough. But it was still hanging with me, and it did hang with me for a while. At the time, I went to my dad's death, and then, oh, by the way, you've got to actually go to Afghanistan. And I thought, but these were a series of events that were like a 1, 2, 3 punch. And so the biggest punch was federal investigation. People always die there, but it's still hard. That's going on. So it hit me pretty hard there. My dad did know about that investigation. I did talk to him about what was going on before he died. And so he was with me. He was one of my counselors as well, as far as just talking about things. And then he dies, and I'm going to Afghanistan. Now, Afghanistan war was just a minor aggravation. In many ways, it was a way to escape out of there. But I couldn't really, my processing ability was low, and it just became lower and lower. And when I went I could have declared mental health with the U.S. Army and gotten out of Afghanistan. That's how bad it was. I could have easily have gotten somebody to say, let's take this, not because I was going to be a commander of troops in a war zone, and I had all kinds of but I went ahead and picked myself up and decided this might be a redemption. Maybe this is a way I can prove to them that there's nothing. And so my security clearance was challenged, and it was given to me. There was nothing there. I went off to command in a war zone, but I had a low processing ability. I told my troops that I'm not thinking right because my dad died, which is true. I didn't tell them about the federal investigation. And I just had them. I said, there's a lot of things. I'm going to get you trained up, but once you get out here, you're really going to have to make a whole lot of decisions on your own without my guidance, because I'm going to have to trust you. I'm going to have to trust that you're going to do the right thing. Because of my ability just to put one foot in front of the next was really, really low. Matter of fact, I kind of had a death wish when I was in the war, because it just get me out. When the bombs come in, I'm thinking, just take me out. I'll go see my father maybe, and just take me out. And I wasn't really scared. This is not good to be. It's good to be scared, but in the war zone, I wasn't scared. I was kind of like, I had a death wish. Come on, I'm ready. And so instead of running out of the tent when the incoming rounds came in, I just walked out. I was the last one walking out to go into the bunker. It's like, oh, whatever. Like, so they say, sir, you need to run. You don't need to walk. so that was. But I was like, yeah, get me out of my pain. So that's kind of what my thoughts were over there. So, yeah.
Were these conscious thoughts, or were these?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were conscious thoughts. I was thinking, I had a death wish. I was praying not to be maimed, but to be killed. And so there was not a really boom, 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 or blow up. Whatever, let me go too. Kind of like that. I had that type of thought process, conscious, very conscious. still grieving my father over there. And I'm also like really fed up with that. I was really thinking and trying to process in that an investigation. And so Afghanistan was sort of like, whatever, I don't care anymore. But we did very, very well. Ironically, my soldiers did really well. We had trained them up before. We had a series of events and training, and I had some pretty good soldiers that I would say 90% did very, very well, which of course they took care of me, and I took care of them the best I could. They were probably taking care of me more than I'm taking care of them. Yeah.
But that is the sign of a good leader as well, because a good leader knows his limitations, and a good leader communicates with his team and says, hey, today I'm not in my best. And I think that is the one thing that I'm really, really proud of in my leadership skills, is that I established this kind of honesty and transparency in my surroundings. So I'm every time that someone opens up to me and says, hey, look, I really have got at the moment, I'm going for shit times, or I haven't slept for a week because the baby was crying, or something like that. Hey, can you look out for me? I see that as a huge sign of trust. And that is really, I think, where a good leader excels, to understand that we are not 100%, that there will always be shit happening, and that you cannot be 100% on task 100% of the time. If you try to do that, you're setting yourself up to fail. And if you then have got a tendency to self-flagellate and to drown yourself in shame and guilt, well, then the next time that is happening, you're so full of shame or guilt that you actually try to escape your reality. Was there ever a time that you tried to escape your reality? I mean, how did alcohol play into your life?
Oh, I'd always been a drinker. I still drink. Mostly it's on the weekends. But at that time, when I was going through that federal investigation, I was drinking every day. And I would drink into excess to go to sleep. But I'd always get up in the morning and still do physical fitness. I was never, even when I was drinking every day, it never got to the point where there was alcohol coming out of my skin in the mornings, or there was someone complaining. I still able to do physical fitness and things of that nature. Now, of course, when I went to Afghanistan, there was no alcohol at all. So everybody was dry over there that I knew of. They were all dry. But no, then I come back from Afghanistan. I did drink, and then I went back to weekends, and then so I had to go through a whole series of counseling sessions, pretty much having to do with just the PTSD. Now, by accident, what I found that helped me out, and I got on an elliptical machine that goes left, right, left, and I allowed my emotions to come through. And if I would look at photographs in my mind of all the bad and the good, and I would laugh and I would cry and I got mad, and I allowed that to come through in an exercise way.
Beautiful.
And I found that it was like using the bathroom, going to the toilet, and that helped me out a lot. And
Beautiful. Truly have a shit and have a shit of a shit day. I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, nice. And of course, you have to say that again, the way you were teaching yourself to learn, the way you were learning, being tactile, using the senses. Again, you actually used your senses. You actually used the exercise with imagery, with visualization, and allowed yourself to feel the feelings. Wow. Oh, that's bloody cool. That is.
Yep.
And that's it.
Accident. Yeah, accident. Just playing around, you know.
But that is you.
Yeah.
That is you. You were always open in your life to play around, to see what works for you, because you figured out, okay, maybe the routine way, the so-called right way, that is taught in schools or in other leadership forums, was not really working for you. Here you are. Wow. Okay, what a beautiful thing. So you actually found an alternative to not escape your reality, but reshape it by deal with the emotions, feel the emotions, let them wash over you, let them come out, and then allow yourself to move on. Now that is cool shit. I like that a lot. Bloody hell. Wow. Wow. I mean, here you are, PTS from that a very dark space, but now you found little ways out of actually one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, actually, to get yourself better.
Yes.
Wow.
You can do that a number of ways. If you don't like the elliptical machine, you could walk in the park and get alone, I feel, and get away from the devices and then get in touch with your feelings and then allow them to be exposed. I feel through exercise and just and you just gotta allow it. And then a lot of people will look at you like you're crazy if you're in the gym doing it, which I've done that.
Okay.
But they know that they should know that you're going. So yes, and if you're crying, and that takes a while. But I just explored that. I found these photographs, like boom, 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 photographs everywhere. Yeah. But it was a hell of an experience. And I said, wow, this is working. This is working here. I'm going to keep doing it every day. I want to do it every day. It feels good.
Excellent. Well, for the lack of a better word, a good exorcism there. Oh no, that's cool. That's absolutely cool. Because I mean, as part of the PTS, flashbacks. I mean, the things when you felt really bad. What was your physical reaction to these kind of flashbacks? What was?
Well, it's like you get locked up. Oh,
that's right.
Like then he's like you start shaking, your mind starts racing. It seems like some of the body is hurting, and then sometimes you just go into, okay, I got to get rid of these. I want to daydream about killing them. I have fantasies of killing and maiming some of these people, and I'd say, wow, and that would go on, and I would get excited, and I would have all these visions, and of what to do and how to do it and what to do. It's just, I don't know, these flashbacks. Now, writing the book was also a way to cathartic behavior.
Exactly.
Where it went to such a point with this book. I've got it in the testimony of how the book nearly killed me, because normally I exercise. I tell you, I like to move around and things, but the thing is with the book, I went into such a drive. And I sat down. The key thing is I never sat down so long for such a period of time. And what that did also, under the stress and the flashbacks, I would sit there and look at it and and I was sitting for hours trying to think that I could actually do something with the damn book. But I was seeing this life out here on me. I could see the story, how my ghostwriter helped me out. And it put me in the hospital. My blood clots had formed in my lungs and my legs. I was scheduled to die in the intensive care unit February of 2021. And at the time, they kept asking me if I was a smoker. And I answered the question, no, I've never smoked. I said, I smoked cigars in Afghanistan, and like once a week, I'll have a cigar. They said, we're not talking about cigars. We're talking about cigarettes. I said, no, I haven't never smoked cigarettes. Never smoked cigarettes. So, well, I didn't know at the time it was the book, but it was the sitting down. It was the behavior of sitting down and not getting up. So the obituary, the designated beneficiaries, and we had to go through end of life procedures and talk about the grave and things, because it was pretty much well known that I was supposed to die, but my body reacted to the blood thinners and also to the antibiotics, because I had developed pneumonia at the time, and my body came back. I went from I had the ICU, intensive care unit, for 3 days, and these were. I was considered a special case. They had the blood doctor, the lung doctor, every heart doctor. They were all there, and they all came together, top-notch professionals. And they pretty much said, no, you're not going to make it. And but my body reacted well, and they said, hey, looks like you might be able to get out of this ICU if your body keeps doing what it's doing. And I said, okay, great. And I did. I went to another level of care in the hospital. And then eventually I was able to get wheelchaired out of the hospital after 5 days. And it really, everybody asked me, "You're physically fit. How did you get in here?" I said, "I don't know." And then when I got out of there, they're like, the doctors were surprised, like, "How in the world did this happen?" And they're like, they looked at me as a trophy. We saved his life. And so, but they go, "Hey, you're cool." But no, I was like, but no, that was a hell of an experience. And it was because of this sitting down. Now I'm sitting down now, but normally I stand up at a table, but I am taking blood thinners now. So I don't see this happening again.
Right, no, brother, let's be a bit clearer there. Let's be a bit clearer. The sitting down is one thing. Yeah, I'm sure you've been sitting down many a times. I mean, flying to Afghanistan, you would have been sitting for hours and hours and hours in that bloody C-130, or if you're lucky in a more commercial flight. But you're sitting for hours. So that is not the issue. The issue is that you switched in a complete fight and flight mode. There was this kind of changes going in, the waves of adrenaline, the waves of noradrenaline, of the cortisol. There are so many changes that we see as a fight and flight, that we see typically in the time around surgery, around trauma, physical trauma, when there's something happening in the body tries to heal. And as part of the healing, he tries not to bleed out. So he tries to get super effective with the clotting. And that is where you came in. So you created trauma by writing the book. You created a physical state in your body that was similar to your body being under attack, and it defended itself. And unfortunately, as part of that, seeing that happening, that is what set you up there. Bloody hell.
Yes, it was. I told my writer, "This damn thing's going to kill me. I'm not going to live. Yeah. I'm pretty much going to die. And I want you to continue. It'll make me more peaceful death if you just promise me that you will carry out my task of my book." And he said, no, you're going to live. I was like, "Oh man." So that's yeah. Again, like, how in the hell did he get out of the hospital? How the hell did he graduate college? And so there's all these little things. How did you do this? How did you do that? So no, I just kept on going. Yeah.
Why did you write the book? What made you do that, actually? Everyone
was asking me, how in the hell did you do this? How in the world can someone like you do all you did? That question was not, if it wasn't told me, my dad says, "Son, you surprise the hell out of me all the time." And so I was surprising everybody. It could be success, so it was a surprise. It could be failure and then getting out of the, all kinds of situations. So that's why. And my dad was a storyteller, and so I said, "I'm going to follow up with my dad. I'm going to knock two birds out with. Okay. I'm going to give my dad a legacy. I'm going to give me a legacy, and I'm going to tell you all these things that happened, and in a very funny or a very truthful way." And so I was like knocking out. I've never been obsessed. We've all been obsessed. Most men have been obsessed over a woman or something, but I've never been obsessed over a project like a book or anything. I've never been obsessed over a car or a house or a possession. I became possessed, obsessed or whatever, with this damn book. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, because I mean that's the typical point that you come to. You have been a survivor for such a long time, and then you come to a point that you wanted to make sense, and you wanted to actually, I've gone through all that. So is that only just now for me to die, or is it actually, is there not a message there from which other people can learn? And I think that was what shone through your book. It was the so many lessons about tenacity, about not giving up, about living your life to the fullest, whatever that means, and however you can do that. If it fits within the expectations of your society, well, that's nice. If it doesn't fit, who the cares? No, you're actually go out there and leave a legacy. And that is exactly what you did. And that's exactly what you're doing now with you coming onto my show. You are helping others to understand that there is hope. You're a beacon of hope, man. to a whole strata of society, to so many people out there who might think, oh my God, I come from very poor circumstances. I come from, I've got a learning disability. Nothing will ever come out of me. I'm going to be a failure. All those kind of things. And in reality, you were saying, yeah, no. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And that is your strength. And for that, I commend you that you wrote this book. There are only really I must have read, I don't know. I read two books a week. And it is, so I read a shitloads of books, and there's only two that come to my mind. One is yours, which have been written with such brutal honesty. Because normally every single author wants to show you the good side. Everyone wants to show you the really, hey, this is me, I'm the hero. Okay. They don't want to talk about their failures. You are brutally honest. And that is, again, leadership. That is, again, beautiful. And it is so timely that today you're coming onto my show, because I needed to hear those words. I needed to feel this power that comes from your honesty. That is actually really, really beautiful. It gives me strength to do what I have to do. And so it is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. Wow.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Stephan. Yes.
No, you're an amazing man. Not just because we've got the same hairdresser, but no, you have gone through a lot of very, very interesting times, and your book is amazing to read. So where can we find out more about you and about your book?
It's on jasonpike.org, jasonpike.org. A soldier, you'll just do that, jasonpike.org. And A Soldier Against All Odds, it's in Amazon. You can just read the free reviews there. A lot of my soldiers left reviews. People that knew me put reviews on there. You'll have a lot of fun with the reviews. And a lot of people think you should be pissed off at them saying this, and I'm not, because that's I was just happy they gave me a damn review. But no, A Soldier Against All Odds. It's a blue book. It'll be in your browser. 31 years in uniform. I lived in five different countries, and some countries I can't tell you about. I lived 9 years overseas. And so I've seen a whole lot of things, had a whole lot of life's troubles, ups. So yes, like you were saying, Stephan, this is a different memoir that I feel than others. It's set up in a way that gives you the feeling of love, jealousy, hatred, anger, betrayal. Yeah. All those things I experienced in a life in uniform. For the most part, it was in the life in uniform of 31 years. And you'll see that. I'll come out as maybe the unheroic character, maybe. But how many people that are a senior level will tell you about how they screw things up? And that's why I think this memoir is a little different than most. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And for
Jasonpike.org, yeah.
Exactly, guys. And guys, look down there into the description of the YouTube video and podcast. Jason's details are down there. I loved his book. I think it is a fantastic read. So guys, go out there, get yourself a copy of the book and read it. It will make you cringe. It will make you laugh. It might make you cry, because it might remember you or remind you of your own failures and maybe some episodes in your life that you're not very proud of. And I think that certainly happened to me. And I thought, wow, you have got balls the size of bloody South Carolina to actually write that. But it is beautiful to read. So it is very humbling. I guess humbled is the right word that your book left me, the right description. No, it's wonderful. Jason, you're an amazing man. I can't wait to see what the new Jason will be, because you have grown, you have changed over your lifetime. So, and now that you've sort of tasted blood in writing and becoming a speaker, etc. So there will be a new development just waiting around the corner. So I can't wait to see where you are going. Okay. Have you figured out who you want to be when you grow up?
I'm looking at another book, not as crazy and wild as this book, but it's more of a it's a self-help book of how the veterans get their benefits.
Nice.
I've always dreamed that this book could become a movie, like a Forrest Gump. Now, Forrest Gump. Now, he only had a few years in the military, but and he was a successful person. We know that I'm a little better than Forrest Gump, but we could exaggerate it in the movie, I guess.
That's brilliant.
That's just sort of a thing I've always thought about. I don't know. I wouldn't know how to go about it, but that's
but you don't know who's listening to our show today. You don't know. You don't know. If you're open to the universe, man, things happen. And that's just an amazing thing. Oh, man. Jason, thank you so much. It was an honor to have you on my show.
Hey, it was wonderful. I enjoyed it. Take care, buddy.
And you guys out there, look after yourself and live with passion. Okay? Bye.
Bye-bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.